Hi, this is Lavrenti and Elena with you, and today this is a free detailed video about nail extensions using upper forms, as well as about hardware processing. Here's how the nails looked before. Well, now they've already grown out and it's time for me to show off my device. I have the Dr. Alex device in my hands with a comfortable, quiet and lightweight handle. By the way, this is the very device on which I set 2 records, each of which, by the way, lasted a whole day. And here, once again, I'm testing a carbide bit, this time with a black ring, and I have to admit that it's the black ring and the coarse cut that I probably like the most, because the dust comes out in larger pieces. After all, the most harmful dust is the fine one. By the way, I've been meaning to tell you, people always ask about these bags. These are special bags, they're pre-cut, and they're only suitable for the autoclave. That's why I can pack burrs in blisters like this, or pushers. About the cuticle. Here, as my model, I have my sister Liza. Many of you already know her, and those who do know are aware that her cuticle is just unbearable, and the cuticle also has its own moods. For example, this time it was relatively good and even responded to my pusher, so I lifted it and now it's time to show you the drill bit. It's called a baton, and I think it's clear why. Because it has these kinds of blades, I don't know what to call them exactly, but basically it looks like a sliced baguette. And on the website it says that these blades, this kind of slicing, help the drill bit cool down and not overheat the skin. So write in the comments if you've tried it, whether it was true or not. I'm curious too. I'm still in the process of testing these drill bits myself. They really caught my attention because it's extremely unusual. And of course, as professionals, we always want something new, something better, and of course not like everyone else. Here I'm showing the drill bit in action. My drill bit is shaped like a carrot, but it has these grooves that look like a bar. The drill bit is from the KMIS brand. It's a huge factory here in Kazan, and they asked me to mention that KMIS drill bits are not sold on marketplaces. So please don't ask me for item numbers. The drill bits are only available on their website and from official distributors and representatives. I'm also showing you another drill bit. Look at how unusual its notching is. It's yellow and red, so it's between yellow and red. It's not quite yellow yet, but it's also not red anymore. This drill bit is for super delicate skin. It's exactly the one that will suit my Liza, because both she and I have very thin, very delicate skin. And you practically need to hover over this cuticle and not even breathe. By the way, right now I'm preparing the skin to do a hardware cut, also using a drill bit, but a different one. So, about KMIS drill bits. They won't be available on marketplaces. You can only find them on the official representative's website, so be careful of counterfeits. If you find these drill bits on a marketplace somewhere, they'll either be extremely overpriced because they're resold, or they'll be fakes. Now let's move on to the machine. I'm showing you this drill bit. It's quite large, with a big diameter. I insert it into the machine. It's still the same Dr. Alex. And I set the machine to 4,000 revolutions. This is important. Next, I take the lifted cuticle. I create tension with 2 fingers. As you can see, the skin is stretched between them. And now it's very easy to cut at a very low speed. I know there are techniques where they cut at 12,000 RPM and so on. I don't like those techniques because I have delicate skin, and I have many clients like that, and I know exactly how to work with it. That's why I use a very low speed. And the main thing is that besides having a good abrasive on the bit, you also need a reliable machine with enough power and torque. That's why the Dr. Alex machine is exactly the right one. I have the SPS SP 130. Now is the perfect time to take a screenshot of what I'll be working with. I have a primer base, dehydrator and gel. The black gel is from the Iris K brand AM line. I'll show everything in detail now since we're about to do an extension. But first we'll degrease everything and move on to the prep liquids. Oh, nail prep is a special additional degreaser to make sure there won't be any lifting. Next, everything has dried and we apply the primer. I have an acid-based one. It's important to apply it without overlapping. Then the base, rubber base from the brand I Am. I'm demonstrating my method without edits. This is exactly how I do it, since people often ask about layer thickness. It's not too thick and not too thin. Of course, there's no leveling, just a small amount of base, so it sits like a small puddle. That's important. The base coat is cured for 60 seconds, and in the meantime, I prepare the gel. It's this kind of black stained glass gel. It has a bit of a grey undertone. We're going to have a very unusual color in our work. I took the dual forms. I don't need to say whose, they're labeled anyway, upper forms and Menka. I pressed them a little, squeezed them to increase the arch, since they didn't fit quite right. Then I try them on, pick the right size, and take my brush. I took this oval number 2 from Ariski. It's really very small, and I need it to deal with the ingrown points. So, everyone who has side growth points showing, do this trick. Apply it exactly along the edges in those spots and cure it with a lamp. Zhenya Immonen taught me this great life hack. I highly recommend it. Now your side growth points will be covered, but remember to use only a small amount of gel. Next, we apply the gel in 2 steps. It's a black stained glass gel which we'll use for the entire extension. It's even a bit smoky. First, I apply a thin layer up to the middle to the joint area. Then I add another bead. You can do it with 1 bead, but I prefer 2. But it's important not to apply gel to the free edge area, meaning where the free edge begins. We cured it with the lamp, and now I'm placing the main drop, the biggest and most voluminous one. This is the one that will make up the entire nail. The trick is that I don't stretch the gel all the way to the cuticle area. This is how it looks. Next, our beautiful finger is crooked. Yes, Liza has fingers like that, she was born this way. It's not a crime, they just point to the side. And you need to know how to work with fingers like these too. And I want to say right away, you won't always get a super perfect result here because you need to maintain that golden balance. If we straighten the nails too much, the phalanges will just look broken. Of course, that shouldn't happen. So everything is good in moderation. We turn as needed, but do it very delicately and moderately. Look how nicely this gel compresses so nicely. Now there's a gap between the form and the gel, and you can actually see how much it has compressed underneath. The next finger isn't any better than the previous one because her middle finger goes way off to the side, but as you can see, I'm not shifting the upper form too much. I'll say it again, if I place it perfectly straight in relation to the upper phalanx, the first or central axis, you get what I mean, it will look like it's broken, like a fracture. That would look really unattractive. And next I'll show you again, just repeating it. Once again, we apply product to the areas where we have the growth points that might show through, and then we cure it with the lamp. The lamp is also from Iminka. It's very convenient, it's wireless, and the charge lasts for a really long time. I don't even know how many days. It lasts for a very long time. Also, first apply a small base layer. You definitely need to cure it. And I cure it for, I don't know, just 2 seconds. Just a little bit. So not to dry it completely, but just to cure it a bit. Next, the main drop that we will apply, the brush I'm using is also from Eriskate. I actually have a whole set of these brushes. This is what the upper form looks like, and now we place it on our ring finger. We're lucky with the ring finger here, it grows straight, so there are no problems with it. We move it closer, press specifically in the cuticle area, and that's the area I pre-cure. Because after pre-curing the cuticle area, the gel is still wet on the free edge side, so I take an orange stick and can easily wipe everything off. It also wipes off easily with an orange stick. The most important thing is that you need to press the orange stick against the skin at this moment, not push into the gel, so you don't ruin the thickness. Check everything, and if needed, add more with a brush if the sides aren't parallel enough. This can happen if the gel runs. We cure it, and when it starts to feel warm, you can press it. I have thin pliers. Needle nose pliers. The needle nose pliers are also from Imia, in case anyone asks. She has them on her website, but I think they're not on Walbury's. And now you'll be able to see very clearly how nicely the gel pinches into shape. Everything is nicely pinched and holding. Now we snap it off. I didn't keep the sounds, there was a lot of snapping because I had already pressed everything down. But as you can see, they tightened up very well. Since her natural nails are wide, that's just how her nails are by nature, and there's no way to fix that except by adding length. So when you add length, it looks quite elegant. But we only pinch the free edge, meaning we can't pinch the nail bed itself, of course. Now let's take a nail file. Mine is from Nippon Nippers, and nothing has changed here for many years. It's on a foam base, 100-180 grit. I'm showing you it's best to stick the file on before starting the manicure, or you'll end up like me with the glove stuck to it. It happens. Next, it's important how you should file after using the upper form. First, I use the other side of the metal file to push back the skin. I remove the gel because if you don't remove it, you'll cut the client. And then we take the file and just clean up the side wall here, making it parallel so it's nice and even like this. You can adjust the length a little if needed, just compare as necessary, and we do the same thing on the other side. So we separate the skin from the gel and then continue filing. It's really important to separate it. If you skip this step, you'll just cut your client with the file. And of course, it's important to make sure your files are safe. My files are cut and made in a certain way so that they don't hurt the client. So I don't need to prepare or file this nail file. That's a really nice bonus. Next, I take a carbide bit. I picked a different one this time because I'm testing for a manicure. I can actually try up to 10 completely different bits. But in the end, there were only 2 here. I used the black one for removal, and with this purple one, I just filed a little around the cuticle area, and then I'll file from the inside. After that, the main life hack for dual forms is to use a diamond bit. It's important to thoroughly degrease everything so there's no stickiness. And then with the same bit you used for the manicure, in my case it's actually red-yellow, so it's a super soft bit. You can safely file the gel, nothing will happen to the bit. It's diamond, and especially with KMEs it has a natural diamond coating. So this is a bit that will last a really long time. Of course, that's if you take proper care of these bits. And you absolutely need to clean them in an ultrasonic cleaner. All rotary tools must be cleaned with ultrasound. I recommend this so that your bits last longer. So here's a filing life hack, since right now we have the ballerina shape here. The upper forms were also ballerina. We need to reshape all of this into almond. And here comes the question of how to change this shape. I recommend helping yourself like this at first. Mark the corners that need to be filed. Hold the file at a 45-degree angle. Use the same file with a foam base. Hold the nail with your thumb, just like I'm showing now, and calmly remove all the unnecessary corners. This is the kind of semi-finished result we get. And now, using the file, as if I'm playing a violin with a bow, I need to carefully smooth out these corners. On one side and in exactly the same way on the other side, if necessary, adjust the parallels. And this way we get a very beautiful, elegant, well, probably an almond shape, or maybe some other shape. But anyway, this is the shape that Liza liked the most. It really suits her, and on her hands it looks extremely flattering, because it elongates her fingers and makes them look more unusual. Next, we're going to file from the inside. Since we shortened the length, of course, we need to fix everything. Here I have a fir tree drill bit with a purple band. I can't tell you the brand of the drill bit right now. I'm still testing it, maybe later. I have more than 100 drill bits currently being tested. Once I finish testing them all, I'll let you know everything. But I want to say that the black and purple ones, so far I really like them. They're really great. What do I do next? I take the same base that I used as the foundation from AM. I use a polypalette to apply this base to the surface. And now I apply primer along the cuticle area, because maybe I filed something off there. And now I want to go over this area with the base, so there won't be any lifting. By the way, this manicure is already about 2 weeks old, I think, and there really hasn't been any lifting so far. Now, I just can't stop playing with this thing. I honestly don't know when I'll get over it, but I'm going to keep going. I'll keep doing this air puffing. It's an amazing little grabbing stick. And these tiny little sponges. So we had a grand idea, but if you don't like design, it's better to leave right now, because here it comes. Elena, design is not your thing. You just don't know how. Listen, whether I can do it or not, I do it the best I can, and I show you how I do it. I had a request from Liza, a client request, and the most important one at that. By the way, don't do it like this. First, you need white and then some color. So, Liza's request was, you're not going to believe this, you've probably never even heard of it, birches. Birches. Birches and some kind of Russian folk-style manicure. Well, I don't know, honestly. At first it was just birches. I said, well, let's do it. Let's make a red sun. Well, that's the kind of association I have, like with the Russian winter, maybe even. Anyway, we did it. We dabbed this on with a sponge applicator, this little red spot that, in my mind, symbolizes the sun. Next, we're just going to draw a tree, the trunk and branches of this tree. Nothing special. I'm just doing this with gel paint by intuition, just as I see and feel it. I'm not an artist. It was Liza who went to art school just because I used to take her there. I was never taken to art school. So I draw, well, just as I can, that's how I draw, basically however it turns out. Here on the second, on that, on the third, on the fourth finger, we'll have birch trees right here. For now, I'm just lightly sketching them out with a thin brush, marking where they'll be, and I'm using grey paint like this, just so I know where they are. Because the birch trees will be textured, they'll be made right out of modeling gel, kind of 3D. Here I still had hope that we would leave it like this. That's why I drew it in a bit more detail. These are birch trees at night in the dark. On the thumb we thought, if there's a sun, then who says we can't make a moon? So we also dabbed on some white gel paint. And on top with yellow gel polishes, actually two colors as you can see, I dab on the sun and also paint trees, only this time they'll be fir trees. Well, this is probably the simplest option. If anyone wants to know how to draw fir trees, you just do it like this, using the trial and error method, I guess you could call it. But I'll say right away that I didn't like this idea. Later, we actually redid this nail, we improved it, but that was already done the next day. Then we went back over these fir trees on top with white, right over the no-wipe top coat with white. Because it looks beautiful like this, but over the top coat, it blended together and in general became kind of unappealing. We added little stars at the client's request, and the most difficult finger was the pinky. It was a nightmare. Because there, Liza decided that there should be a crow or a raven, basically some kind of blackbird. We googled the silhouettes of these birds on the internet and I started drawing. Since I really can't draw, well, I mean with trees I can somehow manage, but here it was really hard. I drew it several times and erased it. I had a reference on my phone, but in the end it turned out to be something that vaguely resembled a crow. But this is definitely not a masterclass and you shouldn't do it this way, because, well, I guess birds are drawn differently. But there was a task, and I drew something like this. I tried to give it some volume. There will even be an eye now. Well, it's a bird after all. It has arms, oh my gosh, legs, oh my gosh. It has a tail and wings and eyes and a beak. This bird will definitely have everything. Well, it's a black raven if you like. Because, I don't know, maybe it's some other kind of bird, but this is how ours turned out. Liza said she thinks it's pretty. I said, well, the main thing is that you like it, so we'll leave it as it is. Next, the top coat is also from AM with a clear brush, which will now bring our whole design together. Okay, we've covered the little trees, now we'll cover our fir trees. Here you can see the black is already fading, which is why I went over it again. It's basically like snow on these fir trees. That's why we ended up with this, well, Russian winter, I guess. But that's not all. Don't switch off yet, because the craziest part is about to start. Well, it seemed like everything was fine, nothing foreshadowed any trouble, but we have these two fingers, and I have these two little jars with textured white paint. The paint is also RSK, it's also called plaster paint. It goes by different names. Some say you can mix this kind of paint yourself, but you need very coarse acrylic powder. Anyway, I already have this paint, and I'll show you what we're going to do. I'm applying it exactly to the areas where I've marked the trunk. Once again, what you see at the bottom is just an underpainting. It wasn't really planned to be there at all. To leave it. Liza said she really wants a birch tree. Like a real birch, a true birch. Just like we once had a birch tree outside our window a long time ago. A birch. I really love birch trees actually, and the birch print, I think it's so cool, it's so aesthetic and easy to paint. So basically I painted all of this on the wet plaster, I added some black, and this is the result I got. Feel free to comment on anything, just not the raven, I honestly get second-hand embarrassment about that. Everything else seems fine except for this finger, but like I said, here we went over it with white, and it turned out okay. So the manicure lasted for 2 weeks, and by the way, in the cuticle area, yes, it's kind of translucent, but nothing has fallen off so far. That's all from me. This has been Liza.